There is currently panic in Pakistan after the announcement that was made in India about the Indus Waters Treaty being held in abeyance. Pakistan, of course, takes some time to comprehend these things, to understand these things. And the buzz on the ground in Pakistan is, ab Indus Nadi ka pani ruk jayega, that Pakistan will turn into a desert. That's not what India has said, but Pakistan is panicking. And of course, there are some in Pakistan who say, if India stops the water of the Indus River, it will be seen as an act of war. So Pakistan is also trying to now drum up some nationalism, jingoism and support for Pakistan's Army Chief General Asim Munir, seen more as an Islamist. But that's a separate debate. Joining me now on this India Today special broadcast is Ambassador Yash Sinha, India's former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, somebody who spent a long time initially as Joint Secretary and then Additional Secretary at the Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran desk at the Ministry of External Affairs. And when Pakistan took this Indus Waters Treaty case to the Permanent Court of Arbitration, he was part of fighting back and ultimately won that case. So, Ambassador Sinha, I want to understand from you and for the benefit of our viewers, sir, what does holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance actually mean? Why is Pakistan in panic?
I think what the government of India has announced is an ultimatum to Pakistan, that unless they switch off the faucet of terrorism, there will be a price to pay. And the Indus Water Treaty, which is the lifeline of Pakistan, 80% of the waters of the Indus water system goes to Pakistan. India was extremely generous as an upper riparian state to allocate so much water to Pakistan. But Pakistan, in return, apart from acts of terrorism, has even blocked every project that India tries to do, which is allowed, which is permissible, the run-of-river projects on the western rivers of the Indus system. And I recall that 2011, 2012, when they took the matter of the Kishanganga hydroelectric project to arbitration, I happened to be the co-agent for India, and we had the redoubtable late Fali Nariman as our lead counsel, and we argued in the arbitration that what we were doing was very much within the four walls of the treaty, and that judgment that came from the court was in our favor. And yet again, Pakistan has now taken this matter, the Kishanganga project, again to arbitration, and of course they've also appointed a very bizarre situation where there's a neutral expert going into this and a court of arbitration also examining it. So I think Pakistan plays a very obstructionist role. Okay. And for us, there is no real merit, no real gain in continuing the charade of adhering to the treaty. But right now, we have just issued a warning, and Pakistan should take it seriously.
So what does this warning truly mean? Clearly, water will continue to flow. If we were to talk about we are an upper riparian state, and we were talking about the western, rivers, Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus. Pakistan continues to get 80%. We retain 20%, but we're not even harnessing our 20%. So why is there this panic in Pakistan? Many would argue you can't stop that water, you can't store it. Our own country will get flooded. So is this an empty threat, Ambassador?
No, as far as the western rivers are concerned, we only have run-of-the-river projects. We do not block water from flowing. We do not have that sort of storage capacity. In fact, the dispute that Pakistan, that took us to arbitration was on the issue of the dead storage level and the size of the sluice gates. Now, as far as India is concerned, we have been adhering to the provisions of the treaty, and till now, the various processes of dispute resolution have borne that out. However, the threat that India is making now, as far as the eastern rivers are concerned, we already are using it. Yes. May not be 100%, but you see the Ravi in Lahore, and you'll see that we are utilizing, as per the treaty, the waters of the Ravi, or the Beas, or the Sutlej for that matter. Yes. But as far as the western rivers are concerned, if we raise, for instance, just an example, and a hydrological engineer would be able to explain that better than I could, But if you raise the debt storage level or you increase the size of the sluice gates, then you could conceivably store more water than you would probably do in normal course. And obviously to divert waters is a very long-term, expensive exercise, but it's not improbable.
Okay, but if we were to even utilize or not give them extra water or not even share data, would that be detrimental to Pakistan? Because if the treaty is in abeyance, then are we obliged to share data? And if we do not share data, is Pakistan in trouble?
Well, as far as the sharing of data is concerned, particularly during the monsoon, this data is very valuable because it gauges the flow of the rivers, especially the western rivers. And if India stops giving data, then prior flood warnings, etc., would not be easily available to Pakistan. Pakistan must realize the folly of the course of action that they've adopted, because for them, the waters of the Indus and its tributaries are vital. It's self-sustaining, it is important for their agriculture, and I think they must realize that terror cannot go hand in hand with seeking cooperation and the generosity of India as far as the water of the Indus and its tributaries are concerned.
Okay. Now, before I go to some of the scenarios that we are discussing on this special broadcast, especially after what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, I also want to understand from you, Pakistan says if India were to stop the Indus waters flow to Pakistan and there is some panic in their country, this would be seen as an act of war. Is there merit in Pakistan's contention, or is India able to send across that message that water for Pakistan cannot be more precious than blood of Indians that Pakistan continues to spill and has been for decades, sir?
This is saber-rattling on the part of Pakistan, par for the course for that country. India is not blocking the waters of the Indus or even the western rivers, and India has not done so far, and I don't think the announcement yesterday even hinted that that would happen. However, cooperation under the framework of the treaty is now put on hold. It's held in abeyance. So if we do not share data, if we decide to work on projects like the Kishanganga, the Tulbul navigation project on the Jhelum, the Ratle project on the Chenab, we would be well within our rights.
Perhaps, and India has started doing that in many instances since 2019. A warning was issued to Pakistan even in 2019 after the Pulwama terror attack. So Pakistan today cannot turn around and say, oh, you didn't warn us, this is grave escalation. India has repeatedly warned them after Uri, after Pulwama, and now taken some action after the Pahalgam terror attack. Now, what are India's options?